Hello everyone. So this is an Ari, and so I'm back again with another 6 factions 6 decks. This is now like my third time of trying this because I've just keep messing this up. First one I streamed by accident instead of recording, so yeah, it's been going good. But I will get sort of straight into it, not ramble too much. I will sort of preface this like I always do with these are the sort of lists that I'll be trying myself. It's by no means me saying these are objectively the best things to run for each faction. Some of these lists I do think are the best thing to run, but some are more like interesting things I'm trying, or like off meta things to try and catch out players. So as always, sort of take it with a pinch of salt. They're definitely like ideas for you to try, but don't take it as gospel that these are the absolute best lists out there. I did want to say as well, thank you to everyone who tuned in to watch the Partners Open. That was really fun. The first one I've featured in. Unfortunately, didn't get to the top 8, but it's not what it's about. It was a community tournament kind of thing, and it wasn't like there was sort of prize money at the end, so I wasn't like super stressed like, oh, I need to get there so I can whatever. So it was really fun to play. Had a lot of interesting games, and if you were sort of interested in watching them back, they are on the I forget the name of it. It's like the on-demand section on Twitch. If you go onto my channel, click on videos, I think you'll sort of see where they are if you were interested in seeing those games. And I also very happy to say after a painful season, I did end up top 500, so stayed in pro rank, which I'm really pleased about. If you've seen any of my streams over the past month, I've been try-harding a little bit this season, last season now, to just try and make it in top 500, and yeah, I managed to do it this season, which was really nice. So I'll stop rambling about nonsense, and I'll get into the list for you. So to start, we have good old scoia'tael. I was running this quite a lot last season, mainly because monsters is like a faction I really like, but I've always felt that they're kind of in like a weird situation where they don't really have like a massive identity. Well, they do in the form of like Death Wish and like Thrive, but there's nothing about them that makes them like stand out, or that you can build like a really powerful archetype around. And this is why you end up with these like hyper janky decks for monsters. And I was playing like Overwhelming Hunger with Haunt and Oberon and Current Diversion, using like Ardgaith and Winter Queen and things like that, but I just wasn't getting anywhere with it. After about like, I think I played like 80 games with it or something, and I was still only around 24, 40 or something, really struggling to get my score up, and it was really letting down my score, and I ended up playing scoia'tael. This is like a slight tweak on the list that Magpie made, and it took me all the way up that Monsters was in the end my highest faction, which was absolutely insane. And that only took another, I think it was another like 40 games with this or something, gained me about, I think it was about like 70 FMMR. So yeah, I really can't vouch more highly for this deck. It's so good. So the general idea, if you haven't played scoia'tael before, is you're trying to play as unitless as possible. You know, playing like 1, 2, 3 sort of units max, so your opponent is really stuck on what they can play, and that is a problem for most decks. If you think about Northern Realms, for example, how are they going to function with only being able to play like 2 units? They just can't, quite simply. If they can't remove Kelly, they just automatically lose. So it's really nice list. I tried making scoia'tael before and wasn't having much luck. And then Magpie came up with this, and full props to him. This is an absolute beautiful approach to take, of using Siri Dash and normal Siri to abuse round one for like card advantage, just get you out of those early turns, because you want to be winning round one or getting like card advantage in round one, so that your Keltulis will be like getting last say in effect, because it's an end of turn effect. If your opponent gets last say, they can kind of do anything they want without being interrupted by Keltulis. And these two together, absolutely beautiful. You can play Siri Dash and like carapace it. Your opponent has a hard time removing it. If they do remove it, they usually have to use quite a big piece of removal, which then means that Keltulis isn't getting hit with that. So let's say you're starting on blue coin, so you're going first, for example. You can then play Siri, use your what's it called, your stratagem. I'm running Crystal Skull instead of Tactical Advantage. I know Magpie's version ran this, but for the sake of 1 point, I prefer the Veil. And then, yeah, so then you end up, if your Siri goes off, you end up in effect playing like you played first. It's kind of one of those things, you understand when you play it, but it almost like flips the coin flip. So it kind of makes it like you're playing from red coin. And then you can play like Siri to get you ahead, as like your, what will it be? You play yourself down to like 4 cards, for example, and you play Siri to get ahead, and your opponent's put in a situation where they either play cards to win the round, or which then mean you get Siri and they're like 2 cards down, for example, or they have to like give up the round and let you win, and then you won on even. So either way, you end up with card advantage. And obviously that's like the ideal situation with these two. Doesn't always work like that, but as I say, if removal comes in for them, it means it isn't going on Keltulis. My last video before this one on my channel was sort of playing this list, and it's a bit more like in depth. So if this has kind of caught your eye a little bit and you want to try it out yourself, definitely give that a look, because I played quite a few games and I think it highlights quite well like how the deck plays and stuff, and what you're looking to do with it. So we'll go on to the next list, which was Northern Realms. This is a list like I've really enjoyed playing. I'm always griping on stream that like I don't enjoy playing like Shield Wall, and like when Uprising was played more often, I don't really like playing that like borderline point slammy kind of list. I just find it a bit boring. And so this list came up and it had me hooked instantly. It's really fun. It's kind of like a bastardization of a list that Parja came up with. I initially played like the Parja version just to get a feel for it, and then I've been making like tweaks along the way, so it's ended up as this version. Not too different, but just made a few changes where I thought they were necessary. So the general idea is there's a lot of removal in there, so you're running things like Becker's, Crathy Heatwave, Philippa, and then obviously like Thunders, and just a load of damage from things like Ballista, Mauler, Eggman's 3 damage, Falabor, just have tons of damage. And then the idea is you play so many Revenants that your opponent just can't stop them, because you have 2 Revenants here, 2 more from Forbidden Magic, you then have another one from Reinforcements, and Triss can then get a Forbidden Magic, and you also have your Leader ability which can spawn another one. And all in all, that is 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 Revenants. So unless your opponent has 7 ways to deal with 3 power units, you probably get a quite successful chain of Revenants going. And I found it works so well, because I've had games where my opponent shut down like 3 Revenants and I'm really not bothered because I have like another 2 cards to set up Revenants in hand. And then sort of when that 4th or 5th comes down, they can't answer it. Each turn you're like spawning out a Ronvid, You can ping that away if you like have no targets on your opponent's side. You're running cards like Redanian Archer for pings to set up for Revenants, Mauler, Ballista, playing Eggman for the 3 damage, like Falabor, Philippa's 1 power, you can kill it. There's just so many ways to get a like continual chain going. And yeah, I've really enjoyed this list. I would definitely suggest giving it a try. I also really like Marching Orders. I feel like this is a very like underrated card in the list, because Marching Orders either gets you Ronvid or Philippa. Once it's the 2 power, then you're looking at maybe getting like Archers or John Natalis, but it's really there for like the consistency on these two, because you really need to be getting Ronvid down sort of early, so then the whole resummoning as a 1 power unit when you play a soldier will be going off in like round 2 and round 3. And say you get your Ronvid, like you draw quite well, you get it in your opening hand, Marching Orders isn't a brick, because then it gets you Philippa, and a tutor for a 12 provision card is never a bad thing. Like a guaranteed tutor is never a bad thing. So I really like that in the list. But yeah, the general idea is you've got plenty of toll removal, plenty of cards like Alzers and like loads of pings to take the sort of mid-rangey small units off the board, and then Revenants for your points. So yeah, I highly recommend trying this out. Really enjoy playing this list. So next we have the punching bag, Nilfgaard, yet again taking another hit in the recent patch. So now double ball is impossible. I'm sure somebody will big brain a way to double ball. They always do. But yeah, double ball's basically dead. And single ball is even worse now because the provision's gone up. So, I mean, I probably won't be playing that much Nilfgaard. So, well, it definitely won't be one of my top 4 factions for sure. So I just thought I'll just make a spies list and have some fun with like the new sort of changes on cards. So the idea is we've gone diversion, so we can get cards like Fergus working, and we've got like the typical kind of really good bronzes, like Magna Division, Van Molehem Hunter, Tourney Joust, Hunting Pack to like thin out your deck, Arbalest to get bleeding, which then is a status for Hunting Pack, and then round 3 the general plan is like setting up spies, get a load of enforcers down, get a load of pings off there, pray that that's enough. That's the general game plan anyway. Whether that is good or not, I think is definitely up to interpretation. I don't think this is like hyper competitive by any means. I don't want anyone sort of playing this list on my like recommendation and expecting to be hitting 2700, because I don't think that's going to happen. But I really just liked the look of like Milton and Palmerin, and I was like, I'm going to try these out. So if you caught my stream yesterday, I was actually giving these like quite a hard time. As I looked at them, I was like, they're terrible, they're awful. But the longer I looked at them, the more I felt okay and like warm to them a little bit. Because they have the problem that I don't typically like about this kind of thing of if the other one's in the hand, same way like Serret and Oracles work, is that they have a really good ability when the other's in the hand, which is great, but sometimes you either don't draw it, or say you do draw both, that means the second one is going to be weaker. You can't get both of these to have their ability going, or like the certainty you get from having the other in the hand rather. And so let's say you play Milton, and you have Palmerin in hand. That's, provided there's like 3 units, that's 10 for 7. That's really good. 10 points for 7 is really good. And then you can play like Palmerin and give spying. So he plays for 7 and gives spying, which is not as good. However, it theoretically is good if you can get like enforcers down. And since Roderick is a 2 power unit, put that between 2 units, is a target for Palmerin, gets the death blow, doesn't need to rely on Milton. was the general sort of game plan in my head. Was like, if we're putting down spies, you're gonna have palmer in targets, and you can get more spying, which then synergizes with enforcers. And of course, this is all very very theoretical and like best case. I think, however, you can't always rely on that, but this is the idea I had in mind. Also running a Cantarella. Cantarella's probably not good, but it's fun, and I really like playing Cantarella. It's just a generally fun card, so I thought I'd throw her in, since I'm not planning to use this as like a hyper competitive, push up my MMR kind of thing by any means. And then we have like Seditious Aristas, which can come down as either engines or just a massive point slam. And yeah, so theoretically you can get a lot of points with this. Whether that'll be the case is definitely another discussion, but I think it's definitely one to try out if you're in the same mind as me and you think, yeah, Nilfgaard's pretty weak, I'm not going to play it competitively, but I want to play something interesting, a bit more fun. I think this deck definitely sort of fits that criteria. So then next we have scoia'tael. This is not too new of a list. It's a sort of like borderline unitless Shiru list. I was running like Shiru quite a bit last season, tried every variant under the sun. And if you saw me in the open, you'll have seen I ran the All God kind of variant with like Brocklon Sentinels and things like that, but it just was so inconsistent. Like I missed Skags in like well over 50% of the matches. I was like drawing into Brocklon Sentinels. It was an absolute mess, and that was kind of the thing where I was like, right, I've had enough. I'm not playing this variant. And I sort of decided on, because I tend to like unitless lists, running this kind of approach. So running things like Sathernesis, and the general plan of like playing, for example, a Novigradian Justice, like Dunker, playing out like Miners and sort of things like that in round 1, and then going for a really unitless round 3 with cards like Sathernesis, Curse of Corruption to destroy any big things your opponent puts down, Karathi, and then just slamming Gord as your last say. And of course you always have Shiru, who's appearing as a dwarf, but you always have Shiru as a big board clear. So I really enjoy this kind of version. It seems to have done pretty well, like by and large, when I've run it. I have had like a fair bit of problem playing scoia'tael last season, so hopefully things get a little bit better this time around. So next we have the boring list. Scoia'tael. After the sort of changes to Rage of the Sea, I thought I'd err on the side of caution and I'll run Patricidal Fury instead. Just because this is like pretty much unchanged. Obviously Stunning Blow has been nerfed into oblivion, but apart from that, it's pretty much the same as it always has been. So we can run like a very standard kind of list, running things like Hjalmar, Hemdall, Harold, Blood Eagle, Champion's Charge, Madman Lugus, all the standard stuff. And then basically all I did was I swapped in Gutting Slash for Stunning Blow, because we're trying to set up like Bloodthirsts. It's not really that bad. Obviously you are missing out on like early late damage that you could get from Stunning Blow and so things of armor, but definitely as the rounds go on, red health is like almost unavoidable for your opponent, and so getting this off is relatively consistent. And I'm just not willing to pay like 5 provisions for Stunning Blow. I may find that I change my mind, but yeah, that's what I'm trying for now. There's also a trophy catch in here, which is probably definitely the most like controversial thing, but I just wanted a bit of row movement in. Just thinking about cards like Keltulis and things like that, just having a piece of row movement is never a bad thing. And even if you don't care about the row movement, it damages units when they're moved on to the other row, so it's not horrible, even if you don't need it. And of course, damage synergizes with literally everything that Skellige's trying to do. I won't talk about this list too much because I definitely think it's something you'll have seen a million times. There is like, you could definitely try like Lippy, for example. I know quite a few people have played Lippy, but I don't enjoy playing Lippy. I find Lippy's very high roll orientated, and I don't really like playing lists like that too much. So I'll probably be going with this as like my brain dead ladder kind of list. So last up we have, like, I think this is best for last. This is the absolute definition of a pile. I kind of threw this together today and played a few games, and I actually really enjoyed playing it. And this is probably the other one that's like not strong. You'll definitely win some games, but I don't think it's the best way to play Syndicate if you're just looking for wins. I think just going like normal hidden cash, or maybe running like Jackpot, or running like Fire Swarm is probably the best way to go. But I saw the change to Shoop, and the one thing that caught my eye was swapping the resilience from Hunter to Knight. And like, although that seems like quite unassuming, resilience on an 8 is like pretty incredible, especially considering like, you think how strong like Siri Nova is. Like, sure, it doesn't have shield and veil, but like an 8 power resilience card is pretty strong, pretty good. So I wanted to give it a try, and obviously there is the chance that like you're not going to get the resilience when you're searching for what it's going to do, but the times you do hit it, pretty amazing. And so the only real difference from like normal hidden cash is there's obviously a lot more like subpar cards at the bottom end. It is very like top end stacked, and you also have to watch out for blind eyes. Because you're only running, you can't, for example, run like 2 urchins, 2 peaches, 2 seductresses, and then everything else. You'd have to be a lot more careful, because you can end up making your Passiflora not go off fully. And now that Sly Seductress is on chapter 2, really important that you get to chapter 2. Before, you could maybe play like 1 blind eye, get your 2 engines. You miss out on the coins, which isn't great, but it's not the end of the world. But now you're missing a really strong engine if you don't get to chapter 2. In this list, we're running 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Running 5 blind eyes, so you need to make sure that you've got 2 around for when you play Passiflora. Rodea can either be played like for coins on melee row. She basically plays as like an 8 profit 4, or like Braintrow if you're just looking for absolute point slam, getting something, you know, like a magic lamp or a tactical advantage, or like a crystal skull to protect something if it's poisoned. Also, another thing to note is we are running only like 3 poisons. I was just going to cut poisons completely, but the reason I didn't was like they all have like additional uses. They're like mutated hounds you don't need for the poison, can just be like 2 bleeding. Fizztech Trafficker can be used as like profit 3 if you use it on your own unit, and in most matchups poisoning your own unit is fine. There's only really like Syndicate and Nilfgaard who run poison at the moment, and Nilfgaard's really weak, and yeah, if you run into Syndicate then you probably shouldn't be poisoning your own unit, but yeah, it can still be played as that. And the other one would be Fizztech. So Fizztech does give you like 4 profit, arguably the most like questionable choice out of the 3 poisons, since it doesn't have like an alternative use. But for profit's pretty good, and since we're kind of lacking in the sort of strong cards we typically run, so you'd usually run like, you know, double blind eyes, you'd run double ransackers, you sometimes could run into a bit of a coin issue, like coin generation issue. So if nothing else, it's 4 coins, which onto like an urchins or a sea jackal represents 4 points. So it still has a use. It's not a complete brick. I think to properly explain this, I think it probably either needs playing or I need to do like a full video on it, because there's a lot of kind of things to keep in mind with it that I've picked up and learnt the hard way, because I played about 5 or 6 games of it. So yeah, I'm happy to do that if there's some interest, but yeah, definitely try this one out. It was literally a pile I threw together in like 5 minutes, but I'm really enjoying playing it. So that rounds out for this season the 6 list I'll be running. Let me know if there's any decks you want me to look at sort of more in depth. I'm happy to do kind of a full video explaining any of these, or if there's a list you want me to talk about, anything like that, I'm happy to do that kind of thing. Also, like, keep an eye on the stream, as I'm definitely going to be playing more of the Northern Realms list on stream, as I really enjoy that. And apart from that, I think that's everything. So I'll leave you there. I won't ramble on too much. I'm aware this video's already gone on a bit. So thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next